One. Hi, good evening, everybody, and welcome to yet another live chat session hosted by me, Siddhartha, brought to you by the Metask Canine Club. We started this uh, some time back, and picked up a lot of momentum. So we thought we will keep it going and bring in a lot more new people to talk about the various different breeds that are there. In that way, in we have today here with us Mr. Preetham. Uh, Most of the people who are in the dog game know him quite well. For people who don't have any idea about who Mr. Preetham is, here we go. Mr. Preetham started showing dogs at a very young age, handling Great Danes. Then later on, with his father, started breeding and exhibiting Whippets, Labrador, German Shepherds under the prefix Dillis. He is the president of the Golden Retriever Club, the Karnataka chapter, founder secretary of the Labrador Retriever Club of India, secretary of the Bangalore Canine Club, and the president of the Karavali Canine Club. He is also a KCI licensed Albany judge. He is judged all over India and abroad, places like China, New Zealand, Philippines, Sri Lanka, Costa Rica, and different parts of Australia. He is also the executive committee member of the Kennel Club of India, and he is one of the persons who have had bred a lot of Goldens. So he will be the right person to talk about all about Goldens today. Thank you, Preetham, for joining us today and giving us this valuable time to talk about one of your favorite breeds, Labs and Goldens. And Golden is one of your favorite breeds, as we all know that. Getting into the this thing format right away. Uh, can you just give us a brief this thing about the breed? Why was Goldens and what was their breed actually bred for?
Thank you, Siddharth, first of all, for calling me and keeping me busy with all these things. Right now, as you know, due to Corona, everybody's at home and people would love to talk to each other, but no opportunity.
That's true.
So at least this keeps us all busy and keeping in touch with each other. And it's my privilege to speak about Golden Retriever, one of my favorite breed. And regarding your question, of where does the Golden Retriever come from? As you're aware, most of the gun dogs started from United Kingdom. It is the place where all the gun dogs started, like working dogs started from Germany, things like that. So in the olden days, as you know, the Britishers were very much after hunting. So they wanted dogs to hunt, retrieve, drive the game away from them, from the burrows, bring them out onto the open so they could shoot. So they started with the spaniels, then it was the setters, pointers. So when they wanted a real working gun dog, which could swim, run, go into the waters, retrieve the birds, with some dog which was strong in the mouth, but at the same time very gentle, so that they could not harm the
Okay,
skin of the
of the game.
bird. So that's the purpose of Golden Retriever. And as we see, I think it's sometime early 1920 or 1930, this breed came into existence. And as you're aware now, it's one of the most popular breeds in the world.
That's true.
And in England, it's like crazy. You go to a good show, you see almost like 300 golden retrievers.
I got
And
it.
like how in India, we have the German shepherds occupying the big ring and going on for a whole day. The
That's
same
true.
happens in UK. We have a separate ring for the Labradors and the golden retrievers. And it starts at 8 and goes on till about 5 with almost 300 to 400 entries.
That's right.
That's something about the golden retriever.
Okay. Okay. Golden retrievers are generally a dog which has got a lot of coat in them. So, how much grooming does a golden retriever need, and what are the right type of grooming kit you need uh, to groom a golden? I mean, there are a lot of. I mean, I think this Labrador and Golden are the two most sought after breeds for people who are getting into dogs, who absolutely have no idea about dogs, but they want to buy a dog. The first thing that they pop up in their mind is basically a lab or a golden. So, what is the kind of grooming kit that you require for that? And golden retrievers, like most retrieving dogs, have a double coat. What does that mean?
See, basically, golden retriever is not so tough. Maybe a gentle brush every day using a steel comb or a slicker should be okay. Labrador, on the other hand, hardly needs. They're tough breeds, not much of feathering. so they are okay. But regarding the golden retrievers, uh, fortunately or unfortunately, ours is a hot country, humid. So we don't get a very thick undercoat and a long flowing coat, what you see on the photographs, which attracts us to golden retriever. But here, the dogs are okay. They need a little bit of brushing. Maybe we spend about half an hour every day using a steel comb. And only when the coat goes little long under the neck, around the paws and all that, that's the portion you need to just thin it before the showing. But by and large, Goldens don't need so much of time. Just a normal brushing every day should be good enough.
Do they shed a lot as well, like other breeds? I mean, owning to having so much hair in them, shedding is a major problem with is shedding a major problem with Goldens as well.
Shedding normally happens when you can't help it because they have to shed their old coat and the new coat comes in. Normally in summer, they start shedding a little bit.
Okay.
But you take them out of the house, in your garden or somewhere, just brush them with your steel comb or use a slicker and keep them in the house. That's okay, not so bad.
Okay. We have a question from one of our viewers. I mean, since we are talking about picking up a dog and everything, this Mr. Jeffries asked, how do you choose a golden retriever show puppy? What would you look out for them?
Normally, or you go by the pedigree, how good the parents are, whether they come from the good, strong lines. Both the sire and the dam have a good, strong lines. And if the breeder is well known, known for showing, known for winning, so once you shortlist on that, probably you can go through the our IKG or go to the dog show and see who's having good stock. Choose from there and go down to their house, have a look at the litter, how
Yeah,
nice they are, and first and foremost, go for the healthy puppy. A
that's
dog
true.
with bright eyes, looks healthy. Then when you want to show him, just see that he has a two. Suppose you go for a male puppy, he has two normal testicles, and if his bones are good, straight, no malfunctions, and he's got a level top line with good bones, tail reaching up to the hocks, those kind of things.
Peter, you were talking about how Golden's, like, since being a humid and a hot country, how we don't generally see the double coat or the as such. So, in as I said, ours being a very tropical country, how do you actually try and get or maintain a dog which has already got a double coat?
See, now you can see in India as such, golden retrievers are mainly popular in and around Bangalore. Not much in the places which is very hot, so people automatically don't prefer to keep a golden retriever. And again, some people are lucky enough to keep their dogs in Uti, where the things are cooler. But when I have my dogs, normally I try to keep them inside the house in summer, try to switch on the air condition, keep them cool so that the coat remains. Well, it's a tough job. People staying in, that's why when we judge, we see a lot of golden retrievers in Karnataka. At a time, we had about 100 entries just
Oh,
about 4 years back at the FCI show. It
nice.
was amazing. And about
Yeah.
46 dogs in the champion class,
Oh, that's
and
nice.
some very good dogs also in Calcutta, but not in other parts of the country. It's a tough job, but since you love the breed, either you keep them in a cool place or try to maintain your house with some air condition or something to go over the summer period.
So an artificial environment like an AC setup would be actually would help in the development of the double coat and the coat properly, or do we need a colder climate as such? Because most of the time, artificial environments like AC and stuff generally don't work with almost all breeds.
So quite obviously, when you compare the golden retrievers in India and suppose in Europe, you never see that kind of tail, that kind of feathering. So quite obviously, it matters. They tend to grow their undercoat depending on the climatic conditions.
Climatic
So
conditions
if it is cold, yes, they have to protect themselves, so they get
from the
very
cold.
good. But if it is a warm, quite naturally they don't have
Naturally, they're going to shed a lot.
going to shed a
Uh,
lot. We have to change, keep the conditions such a way so that they're cold and they develop the coat. So like in you go to Thailand, for example, all the Pomeranians are indoor. People keeping 100 Pomeranians in a big room at a freezing temperature, and they all have lovely coats. So something we should try to do it here also.
That is true. Okay, moving on to the next question. There are some common health-related problems that you see with a breed like Golden. Like in the sense, what are the common health-related problems? And somewhere I actually read that that this is a hereditary cataract is also a hereditary problem that you actually see with Goldens. How far is this actually true, or what is your thing on this?
Unfortunately, Golden does have some problems. Eye is one problem, elbow, hip dysplasia. These are the problems that are associated with Goldens. So, but the parents are tested. When you buy a good dog from, let's say, from Australia or from England, the breeding stocks are tested, and you buy a dog from good score. So, 9 out of 10 times the problems are sorted out. But in India, we don't have that issue still. We don't have the testing systems yet. So as soon as it is implemented by Kennel Club, we should be the first to grab it, because these problems can be sorted out. And you see many retrievers, when they are moving, they are a little bit unsound at the back, very close at the hinds.
So
They just
that is
dragging their
basically
feet.
our next question as well, like
Because,
about
yeah,
HT. You're talking about HT, right?
yes.
And scoring, yeah, okay. So how do you spot this? Okay, since we don't have the scoring system in India, where it's still, well, I mean, the KCI, I know the KCI is still actually going through the process of starting that in India. But now,
Hmm.
let's say, like, but there are a lot of breeders who still breed a lot of Goldens, and there are a lot of people who still buy the Goldens. And I know personally a lot of friends who have not been in the dog game, who have absolutely no idea about dogs, pick up a dog and face this problem, hip dysplasia. So now, what are the tips that you can give somebody like a novice breeder to go and novice pet owner to go and pick up a Golden and spot a problem like this, or how do you spot a problem like HT?
See, it's very difficult right away. That's the reason you have to go to a good, genuine breeder, first of all, who doesn't breed very often, firstly, and he has a good gene pool. The whole
Okay.
thing starts when you start breeding them very close to each other. And there are very few people have seen sort of, not much in favor of line breeding the Goldens. They breed type to type. Like, in other breeds, you see very close breeding happening. But in Goldens, I strongly don't recommend, because that's when the problem enlarges.
Okay.
So, but fortunately for us, we have good gene pool now in India. A lot of people have good stocks, and we can travel a bit, use new dogs, and some of them have also started getting grown-up dogs, which are good eye score, hip score. So when this kind of breeding happens, to a large extent, all these issues can be taken control.
At
So it's
what
very important for the buyer to go through all these things. They should be educated first.
at what age can you actually notice a dog having a HT in a Golden puppy?
Unfortunately, not at very young age. Maybe from my personal experience, I could see them when they were about 6 or 7 months, when they started, pulling their,
Hind leg.
dragging their hind legs, unable to stand up, and not able to run around for a long time,
Okay.
experiencing of some pain. They were able to sit down for a while. So this starts at a much later age. They look quite okay at young age. So
Okay.
only when they are growing up, and you can get them tested only after 12 months, not before that.
Okay.
So it's a very unfortunate issue we
Problem.
have with golden retrievers and dogs in general.
That's true. Moving on, we're having a lot of questions coming up. So let's get into one of the breed-related questions as such. Mr. Vinay has asked, what are the classifications of breed standards of the FCI, AKC, ANKC, CKC, and UK? Is there a difference in breed standard in all these organizations, or do they stick to a very standard pattern?
And we have two different standards basically. The UK and the FCI and the Australian club, they have one particular type, which is
Okay.
more like the FCI, the European type, which is like paler in color. It's totally different. Thick undercoat, wavy coat with a strong muscle, things like that. But the Americans, as usual, they have their own type. Like most of the breeds, they have developed it to their own fancy. And a
Okay.
lot of countries like South America, and a lot of Asian countries like Japan, China, Philippines, they all have the AKC type, which are like dark in color with a silky coat, and the eyes are a little bit not oval, I would say. So there are basically two different types: the FCI and the AKC.
Okay. So two different types.
These are two different
The
types.
FCI and the. So I think we have a couple of your colleagues, I would say. One Ms. Gauri and the others Mr. C.V. Sudarshan, both asking the same type of question. So let's read out the first Gauri's question. There is a difference. There is a distinct difference between the American style and the American style golden and the European English style golden. Do you feel that this difference is so distinct that it amounts to a difference in type? We see both in Indian rings. In this case of differentiation, what would be the different varieties and what within the same breed?
Yeah, that is the thing we have in golden retriever. We have two distinct type, the American as well as the European type. But KCI, being a member of the FCI, I feel we should go by the FCA standards
FCI standard.
and FCA standards. But at the same time, when we travel, like I'm sure when Mr. Sudarshan who has traveled a lot, we have come across equally good specimen in both the type. Even in India, we had some very nice American type dogs, and going on that day, we can see which dog is better than the two. Basically, at the end of the day, what matters is the soundness, a good dog, whether it's an English or the American type. But being an FCI country, I would opt for the European type.
Okay. In the same lines, is there a difference? Mr. Chetan has asked this question. Since you're talking about the English and the American type, Mr. Chetan has asked, is there a difference of, like, in a sense, can you tell us who matures faster, English type or the American type, and why? And do you think this is favorite and why? I mean, is there a maturity period? I mean, like where the Americans type matures faster than the English type? Is there something like this, or it's just a general overall?
Not necessary. I think both are almost same.
Okay,
Puppy is
so
a
there's
puppy, and a grown-up is a grown-up. And
okay,
I have personally, I have no favoritism. I like both the types. The English, I have seen come across some amazing American types when we judge in a country like China or South America. There are very nice American types. Even in India, we had a couple of very good American dogs, which have beaten a lot of European type and won best in show, even in a specialty show under the English judge, which is very surprising. So I don't basically bifurcate them. A good dog is a good dog. But being an FCA country, I feel we should go by the FCA standards.
okay. Preetham, I mean, in the same line, I want to ask you this. Okay, you said there are two different types, right? The American standard
Mm.
and the FCI standard that which we follow. What are the differences in the American and the European type in the standards I'm talking about? What are the distinct differences, or where are the differences that is there, and why is that the prefer? I mean, I'm presuming the preferences are based on the differences of the dogs as well. I mean, the judges' preferences are based on the differences of the dogs. So, what are the actual differences between the two standards?
See, the Americans are, when you look at for the newcomer, basically the color of the American dogs are dark and they have that long silky coat. They
Okay.
don't have that wavy coat or anything like that. Long silky coat, and they don't trim the dog, so it is shown as it is with a lot of hair under the chest, on the tail, everywhere. And apart from that, it is the eye set. I feel there's a bit of a difference between the two,
Okay.
and otherwise they're okay.
Anatomically, they are
Altogether,
the same.
yeah.
Okay. As like okay, now not all golden retrievers. Okay, I have noticed this. I've noticed this in India actually. Not all golden retrievers are actually golden nowadays. Like as you said, they are either dark golden or they are. I think they are also they have this cream color. But cream, I wouldn't say they are
Mm.
white as well. But I see a lot of these white dogs which are actually being showed in the shows as golden retrievers. So what has gone wrong in terms of the breeding as such?
I don't say it has gone wrong. It's just the preference of some breeders, and universally, I don't know how it has happened, but universally, the dark golden has become. Then it started becoming mid gold.
Lighter, yeah,
Then from mid gold, it became cream, and
cream,
now
yes,
it's hot. And people also love to have a cream, and the preferences also have uh, gone down. People would now more and more people would love to have a cream or the whitish golden retriever than the dark ones. I think it basically started from maybe Europe, I feel, probably because of their conditions or something like that. Whereas in the mainland UK, you still have mid golds and all that. But it's not a fault, it's an accepted color. So it's all
okay,
becoming more and more of cream now.
cream. So cream is basically cream is part of the standards where it has been accepted. But as I said, like no, it's like it's not no longer cream as well. It's like gone to some a lighter version of the cream where it's bordering in the lines of white. That's the reason like I've seen like yeah almost all most of the lot of goldens that I've seen are basically in that bordering that color of cream and getting into the white. So like
Mm.
yeah.
I see a lot of pictures of the European dogs being stacked in the snow. Almost the color is like,
Color is
like yeah,
the same as the
magic.
background. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Okay, as I said, golden retrievers were actually used for hunting and
Mm.
retrieving game and such. So, is there a split in the hunting and the shoreline? And what should I look? What does a person like look for in the hunt? I'm pretty sure that the hunting dogs are bred in a different format or a different
Yeah.
way.
The working dogs are totally different. Every breed, for example, the Labrador, the Golden Retriever, even the Greyhounds, the dogs that race and dogs that are shown as totally different. So even in Golden Retrievers, the hunting crowd is totally different. Who are still go for shoots, and they have a much agile, much smaller frame, not such big bones, and don't have such huge coats and all that. So they are totally different. And in India, we don't have that bifurcation yet. So whatever we
Okay,
have here is mainly the show type.
show type.
So the hunting is now getting banned, as you know, everywhere.
Oh,
So it's
okay.
more and more of the.
But they have these retrieving games, right? That is still part of certain shows in UK, right? Where the
They have that
retrieving
field trials and all that.
field trial retrieving, yes, that is
Yeah,
still part of a lot of shows in UK,
yeah.
right? The field trials. So
And those are totally
those
different,
yeah, so
different
those
type of.
dogs are yeah meant in a bred in a very different way.
Yeah, yeah.
No, okay, that's fine. Okay.
And even for the obedience, those dogs are very good for the obedience.
Oh yes, okay. Yeah, that is something that you see. Labs and the Goldens are one of the major breeds that you see in a lot of these obedience showings as such. Like there are a lot of people I've seen like show a lot of these obedience dogs and
Mm.
Peter, okay, we are talking about the world scenario in terms of what golden and how golden. Like there's one Mr. Manjunath, he's asked the question, what is the history of this breed in our country? I mean, who were the pioneers of golden retrievers in our country that you remember of? Who started the breed and developed the breed to what it is? Because, as you said, it's becoming one of the, or rather, it's become one of the most popular breeds in our country. And you yourself said that you had like close to 100 dogs in your thing. So, what is the history of this breed in our country, and who were the pioneers to develop this breed into what it is right
So, as far as I remember, I think maybe I started around 77, 78. So that time there were hardly any Goldens. So I started off with a Great Dane with the intention of showing, and I didn't know where to go. So we were, both me and my father, we were introduced to a great lady by name Mrs. Ishwar. She was the
now?
secretary of the Mysore Kennel Club, a Britisher who had some very nice dogs. So I started going to her. So she really taught me how to fill up the entry form, how to show the dogs, where to go. So my first show was in Uti in
Okay.
'79. I showed under Mr.
Yes.
Rangarajan back then, and Mrs. Ishwar accompanied me. So we went there, myself, my father, and Mrs. Ishwar. We showed the dog, and we came back. So after 1 or 2 years, one day she told me, "You have to come back home after some time because my daughter is going to come with some beautiful dogs, Irish Setter and a Golden Retriever." So I had never seen these dogs before. So I went back after a few weeks and to their house, and I saw some amazing dogs. I fell in love with them. So I said, "What are these?" So they showed me this is a Golden Retriever, and the dark colored Golden Retrievers were there. And I fell in love with them. I always wanted to keep, but this lady who brought this is Ishwar's daughter, was a famous Premila Singh, who later on became our KCI judge and had some wonderful Golden Retrievers, Afghans, and all that. So I would say she was the first lady in India who brought the Golden Retrievers from UK out of that famous Cabas Christopher progeny and won many best in shows with them. And she set the trend here. I would call her the pioneer for Goldens. Then it was taken over by Mrs. Geeta Surendran in Bangalore. Many more. I think in Chennai also we had Padmini Sinha having some very nice dogs. I got my golden only in maybe 98 or 99 when I went to Australia. There were so many lovely goldens, so I decided to go for that breed.
So, I mean, these were they were the pioneers in bringing up the breed, and I think they were their influencers in you
Yes.
getting into the breed as well, I suppose.
In my opinion, of course, it was mainly Mrs. Premila Singh.
Oh, okay, nice. We're having a lot of questions about breeds and about the standard as such, the general standard. So, this is an off-the-thing question I'm going to ask you. So, what is an ideal? What is the ideal representation of the breed in according to the breed standards? Can you talk about the entire breed standard in brief, if possible? What a
See,
golden retriever should be as such in terms of their structure, their movement, because we have a lot of questions asked about the movement of the dog inside the ring and stuff like that. So,
so you go by the breed standards. I take the British breed standard, the UK breed standard, as the main thing for me because they were the ones who started this breed. So by and large, when you see the standards, you see that they are supposed to be a working gun dog. So very lively, full of life, very balanced, and a very sound dog. They're not
okay,
supposed to be very lethargic, and coat and all adds up. It only adds up to the beauty. But the structure remains to be like very balanced, uh, very friendly. That is the main important thing. The characteristics of the golden says intelligent, beatable, friendly, and confident dog. When they are friendly, at the same time they are very confident. They should not be timid, going back when they look at the strangers. Nothing of that sort. And the head is another amazing part. The most important thing of golden retriever is the expression. They
okay.
should have the most sweet, melting expression, which sometimes doesn't appear in some dogs, but a lot of dogs do have that. This expression, I think, is more prominent in the European and the FCI breed standard, not in other standards. And with a very balanced, well chiseled, strong head, broad between the ears, good, deep, strong muzzle is important. So that originally they were meant for retrieving. So a
Yes.
lot of strength is required in the muzzle. And when the birds are quite heavy, they should have the suitable neck to hold the weight.
Okay.
So it's all interrelated. If they don't have a strong and well balanced neck, they will not be able to carry the neck above the water and swim. So for the dogs to swim, then again the most important thing is the front assembly. They need to have a good laid back shoulder, not steep at all, good bones, and feet which is like cat like, and a level top line with good and very strong hindquarters and loin, so that they can, when they're carrying, they need a lot of strength from the hind legs to swim. So
Okay.
these are all basically the working abilities of the dog. So it should be never compromised.
What
No
about the
need
tail
for any.
set at the same?
Tail set, it's it's a set on, neither a low set nor a high set, carried in line with the top line. And
Okay.
the length should come up to the hocks, not very long or very short. If they reach up to the hocks, it's good tail set, and with no kink or a curve in the tip. But it's a set on. It's continuation of the back, not high set or low set tail set. And the
Okay.
movement is very important. Most important thing I would say is the soundness. They should have a good drive, good reach, and move sound and level and straight, not close in the hinds or not wide in the front. A very sound movement is necessary for the golden, which makes them capable of working the whole day.
Okay.
So these are the basic things you should work at. And good stifle bend, and the hock should be always parallel to each other. When you look at from the hind, neither they should turn inward nor outward. And you need a good coat, straight or a little bit wavy coat is all okay, and with good undercoat.
Oh, nice. In line with that, what about the dentition part of it? How do you define the dentition part of the golden should be like?
See, they look for a scissors bite, but I've seen in UK or in Europe, they're not too particular about the missing molar or missing premolar, anything like that. They only see the front, and if it is a good scissors bite, they're okay with that. They never count or go on the side and see the side and all those things. Not much importance is paid for the uh, complete detention, but a good scissor bite should be okay for.
Nice. There are a lot of people asking. Okay, I'll just switch on another question. In terms of the same this thing, what is the ideal movement of the golden retriever golden in the ring? As such, so what would be the ideal movement for the golden retriever inside the ring?
See, ideally, I would say there's nothing like, the fastest winning, the running dog is the best dog. Nothing like that. It's not a sprint. It should be effortless with a good reach in the front and good drive from the back. It's be smooth with less effort. You should be able to cover the distance, and it should not be very close in the front or very close in the back. A true ideal smooth movement. A sound mover is what I would say is a mover.
Okay, so a sound
And the
mover.
level line should be kept level as far as possible. When you stack a dog, present a dog, and when you start moving, the dog should be able to maintain the same profile, not
Okay.
not able to going haphazard way, unable to maintain the speed or not able to should not be putting too much of effort to cover the distance.
Oh, okay. Right. Preetham, okay. This is something that I have read about. This I think this happens in abroad, I suppose. The Grisham Estate Golden Retriever meet. What is this all about? Do you know? Can you shed some light on?
It's the history of the golden retriever. This
Okay.
Gushan is actually the name of the place where the founder of the breed is,
Okay.
I think, I forgot his name. His name was Dudley Marshbank. He's
Okay.
a rich man in UK who was instrumental in forming this breed, inventing this breed way back in 1920s, 30s, like that. So
Okay.
uh, he had this highland estate in Scotland. The
Okay.
estate was named as Buschan. So it was a huge place, about 22,000 acres of land he had purchased, I believe, paying something like
Oh,
50,000 pounds in late 18th century. So now it's all, I think it's all in ruins. But the Scotland Golden Retriever Club, they have a gathering. It's more like a Golden Retriever festival. So
okay.
where all the Golden Retriever enthusiasts meet. They normally have a dog show also, followed by a dinner, and they have a toast in the name of the founder.
Oh,
And
nice.
there will be a lot of people. It's a fun, and it's more like a Golden Retriever festival
So
happening in
it's
Scotland.
basically to commemorate the
It's
the existence
originated
of
from.
it originated from, and by
Yeah,
the
when Trump had a 50 years anniversary, they first started
oh,
this.
oh,
So they
okay.
had about 188 golden retrievers came there for the for the gathering. And then it's growing. They're having a dog show. Then they have a seminar after that. Then have nice dance parties, everything. All just to keep the golden retriever crowd together.
Oh, that's nice. We have a question from Mr. Vivek Nanda. So he asked this: what would be your preference between health clearance or better dog slash bitch for breeding? This is a very debatable topic. However, please share your views.
See, it's all interconnected. I don't know why it's a debatable. See, a good dog or a good bitch is only when everything is healthy. You cannot have a good dog with a poor friend or a back issue or a eye issue or some fault in the dog. So only when
Okay.
the dog is healthy, he can perform and he can win in the dog show. So at the same time, when you breed a unhealthy dog, your entire litter may become a wreck. Not a single puppy may be suitable for commercially possible to sell or anything like that. So a healthy puppy will come only when you have a healthy dogs, and which
Okay.
will give rise to a healthy show specimen. So the health clearance needs to be done before you think of
Breeding any.
buying or breeding or showing anything of that sort.
Okay. Nice. Preetham, moving on to the next question as such. Uh, which kennel is the most reputed worldwide best for golden retrievers? Can you shed a light? Because I'm sure for a lot of people who would love to pick up a golden, import one or something else. So what is, according to you, are reputed kennels across India as well as across the world where you can actually pick up full goldens, or maybe like people who want to pick up a new puppy as such?
See, it depends from person to person. Like the type I like, the person what somebody likes would be very different. And you know very well, buying a dog from a country like England would be very difficult.
That's true.
So first of all, they want to keep it for themselves, and moment we say we are from India, they think twice. Somehow, some of us have been lucky. So although I wanted to buy a dog from a very well-known kennel in those days, Standroff, which
Okay.
had some amazing dogs. But when I went and met her, she said, all my puppies are booked for next couple of years, so you can't buy it. So she had an amazing bitch called Standroff Solar Flame, which won a best in show, I think, when she was about 8 or 9 years old also. So nowhere I could buy a puppy from her. So then I was in Scotland for a while. Then I met this wonderful person, Diana Downey, who used to breed the Labradors mainly and few golden retrievers under the name Tulachmore. So
Okay.
I was looking at her Labradors basically. Then I saw a beautiful golden coming out of the kennel. So I said, "What is this?" She said, "Oh, this is a Standroff Solar Flames sister. It was called Standroff Solar Majestic." And surprisingly, she had a litter also. So I said, "Can I have one?" She said, "Why not?" So that's how I started buying from her golden retrievers. So, but I have seen some amazing dogs. There's kennels like the one I was really impressed is the kennel called Style. She
Okay.
had some amazing dogs, and she was also such a nice lady. She gave some very good brood bitches to other people worldwide who have become now top kennels.
Okay.
So it takes a lot of time to work out with the breeders, get a rapport, and then get a dog out of them. Get a real good dog is again a bigger issue.
Yeah, exactly.
And then and, uh, and a good genuine breeder in UK will never give a grown-up dog. They only give you a puppy for
Yeah, I mean,
10 weeks.
like, I don't think any breeder, for a matter of fact, would actually give up a grown-up dog as such. Yeah.
Takes a lot of effort. 10 weeks, 12 weeks, you have to take the puppy and then keep your finger crossed. And there are some very nice breeders in Europe also I have seen, like Dumist, Carvin, Magic, very nice kennels. They all are good source. Again, Australia, some very nice golden retrievers now. When I was judging there, I could miss a lot of them came and showed under me. So abroad, what happens when a judge is coming? They read their profile. What is he? what breeds is he associated with, and what is his interest and all that. So, moment somebody reads that I am in Labrador or a Golden Retriever, I attract a lot of entries. Even when there are other co-judges, some of the breeders don't go and show under them. So they
Okay.
wait for that breed judge to come, and suddenly you will feel like on a Saturday you may find about 15 golden retrievers entered. On Sunday when you are doing gun dogs, there are about 35 golden retrievers being shown under you. So it's nice. They're very educated, so they go accordingly to that. So I was able to see some lovely Goldens, Charlie or Fantago, and some Giltage, all amazing Golden Retrievers, which are in fact winning a lot now even in UK. They've started sending their puppies to England, and they're out in the last Crufts. They won some good classes with good competition. In
Nice.
India, of course, a lot of people are breeding now. The main place is now Bangalore and Mysore, where we have a lot of people
Where
breeding.
you have a climate to breed a golden retriever, I suppose.
Yeah. As a special mention, I would like to talk about this guy, Saurabh Chaudhary in Calcutta.
Okay.
He has sent some good dogs, and whenever I place any dog, any breed, after the show, I normally ask them when we are distributing the prizes, who is the breeder, what lines, and all that. So, especially when the Goldens have put up, when they ask them what is this, they say it goes back to him. It's a really nice
Feeling to have
achievement.
somebody, yeah, to
Yeah,
breed
it
some good
was.
dogs.
Last
And
year I was judging in Madhyagram. I put up a dog, Reserve Best in Show. A lovely dog. And I asked him, whose is this? And then the handler said, owned by Saurav with some 4 or 5 countries champion. It was a very impressive dog.
nice, nice. We have another breed-related question asked by Chandru. It's quite a big question, so we're going to read it very slowly. Breeders in certain countries are mixing the American type golden and their English type European type goldens to keep back the progeny, which is more English in the litter. Use it back again on English type dogs to get the progeny which are more English in type. Okay. What are your views?
Hmm.
Yeah, as you read this question, I mean, please, I would like you to give an answer to this.
Yeah, you can. No problem.
No, I would like you to give an answer to this.
See, I have not come across much here, but I've been told they're mixing the English and the American one so that they can get back some color on the European type and get some bone and substance on the American type. But it happens very rarely, I feel. But I have never come across somebody who has done this personally. And
Okay.
how can you be so sure? Like, it's a long process. It's a genetic thing, and even when you retain a looks like English type and you retain and you breed it further, it may again go back to the American, or you may not get a single European type. It's purely genetical. And if somebody has done it, I don't know what kind of result they have got so far. But I was told some people have tried to do it. But I have not come across any dog in India which is like half American and half European or anything like that.
But you
I
won't
have
be able
not
to,
come.
like, as I said, like, except for the coat and a little bit of a little bit of the eyesight, as you said, like the major differences. I don't think you'll be able to find much differences as such, even if you cross the two lines or so, or how is it?
They don't. I've not come across. When you see a dog, you can say, "Oh, this must be a American Sire with a English dam." They look either the European or the American.
American,
They
yeah, that's true.
never have some of this and some of that. I've never come across that.
Okay, where
It's
in your experience of having Goldens, being bred Goldens, and seen a lot of shows, uh, I mean, like Jay has asked the question basically. Goldens are the largest entry in cups, even on this day, and the entire entry runs up to 300 plus. Have you experienced the breed being judged at Crufts, and how is the quality of the exhibits in UK? I would like to add another point to this question. So, where have you seen the best Goldens or the most number of Goldens? Uh, I mean, I'm pretty sure Crufts would have been one of the places where you would be seeing, as they said. Where else have you experienced Goldens that are in like? big numbers and lovely to sit and see them.
See, obviously, Crufts is the mecca for all the gun dogs compared to any other country. So I went to Crufts maybe in 2003 or 4. They had almost close to 300 dogs. So it took it started at 8 in the morning and went on till 5 or 6. Every other ring was empty. So the Cocker Spaniels and Setters are all finished by lunch or a little later than lunch and they're all vacated. So the entire arena of the NEC was vacant, but these two rings were still going on, the Labradors and Golden Retrievers. And you have to go very early in the morning to get a seat. If you're a little late, then you have to stand the whole day and watch, which is very tough thing to do.
Yeah, I know. If it goes up till 9 o'clock in the night, yes.
It goes till 9, maybe it went on till about 6:37. And that NEC has a hard granite flooring also, which makes it harder for you to walk or stand or whatever. So, but it was a wonderful sight for me to watch Goldens, Labradors, and for that matter, even Irish Setters and Whippets. They also come in huge numbers in England. But at the same time, interestingly, when Anne Woodcock of Standroff was doing a Golden Retriever specialty show in Australia, I happened to be there. And surprisingly, that she had something like more than 250 or something entries, and some very, very good dogs were there. So that was the real sight for me. I can never forget it.
That's right. Preetham, you spoke about how you got into Goldens, the influencers who basically got you into the breed and then from there it basically started on as such. So what are your best dogs that you have had?
See, as I told you, you may be aware, I'm also part of Bangalore Canine Club. So way back in 97 or something, we had a judge from Australia, Kevin Percival. He came to judge and he was so impressed. There was a lovely German Shepherd. He put up Best in Show. He and Mr. Pati were judging. They both put up the same Shepherd. I think Quick One Urbeck or something like that. So I took out the judge next day out for lunch and dinner. We were generally talking what dogs are good in India, what is not so good. So he was crazy about our shepherds. And after that, he said that particular show he was very disappointed with Golden Retrievers. There were a couple of them not good at all. He said you should come to Australia and see what type of Goldens we have. So I went next year, and he took me to a very well-known breeder those days, Beryl Hession, who had a kennel called Gold Trevi. So he introduced me, and she was a very nice lady. So she gave me a pick of the litter, male, on that day. And that was my first dog, Gold Trevi True Spirit. So I started, I didn't show him much as a puppy, just 1 or 2 shows under Leela Ratnam, under Philip John. But when he matured, the first show was under D. Krishnamurti, and he straight away went to Best in Show. And he said, wow, after a long time, I'm seeing a super dog. So he was campaigned well, and he ended up a third top dog of that year. Nice. And I somehow feel after that, a lot of people started again coming back into Golden Retrievers. And that breed really picked up after that. I got many more after that. I got quite a few from England. Then I got a couple of them from Australia also. One of my very nice dog was a dark colored dog from Brisbane, I think. It was called El Badri, Star of Zion. He went many Best in Shows and would move like a dream. When he was running in the front, no dog would come behind him because all the pebbles on the ground would hit them. His drive was so amazing. Anything on the ground would go flying at the back. I had never come across a Golden Retriever moving like that in my life. So I have many dogs. I probably must have got in about 14, 15 Golden Retrievers so far. So I'm still very much tempted to go and get more dogs.
Yeah, once a bug is bitten you, and I don't think it's like you can ever.
Unfortunately, the situation in our country. Yeah, very difficult to bring in. So I have some good dogs. I amazing dog in Australia, which has done quite well. I co-owned with Heather Morrison Caprala Kennels. Did very well for me. Because of all the restrictions, I had to give it away to South Africa. I could not bring it to India.
Okay.
So maybe in future, let us see.
Nice, nice. We have like a couple of questions that we'll just take on from our. We have Mr. Sunil Samuel and asking you this question: how important is field work for Goldens? And Mr. Sudarshan also asked, what are the best exercises that you can actually give for Goldens? And then another question about feeding. So, what would be the right kind of feeding that you would be able to give a dog like a Golden?
Yes. Basically, my dogs, they're never kennelled. It's always left free in the house, and I have a place around my house, so they keep running the whole day, keep themselves active. Apart from that, I take them out every day, morning or evening when I'm free. I used to I used to keep myself fit by running 2-3 kilometers along with them every day on a loose leash. So it makes like exercise as well as ring training. So
That's
my
good.
dogs would move even without the leash, so they were so used to it. And apart from that, I used to take them to a ground, throw a ball, make them run, free running. Unfortunately, I cannot make them swim. I don't have that facility. If I could do that, that will be another wonderful exercise for the retrievers. Feeding, basically stuck to any commercial dry food that we get. And I used to put a lot of fish along with that,
Okay.
some
So the
fish
coach
and so that the coat and skin can be
develops.
maintained. So twice a day I used to do that, and
Okay.
that was keeping my dogs healthy. And any day, any for a morning, somebody calls me and says there's a show, I can just put a leash and take my dog. Nothing like preparation for my dog because they were always in good coat and good condition.
Nice. How important is field work for Goldens? Is
Keep,
there any?
keeps keeps them healthy mainly.
Okay.
No point keeping a retriever in a kennel. You have to take them out so they can run around and they can also do what they're meant to do. Unfortunately, in India, we don't have birds where they can chase and swim and all that. They can't retrieve. At least you take them to the field work and make them do some work. Keeps them healthy. They don't get bored, then they start destructing anything and everything in the house.
That's nice.
The dog
Okay.
should be walked.
We have time for one last question, Preetham, and this question is going to be basically like, I'm going to ask you, which is your all-time favorite Golden? You can name two dogs, one internationally that you have seen, and one in India that you have seen. Two dogs that have impressed you and that you can't take it out of your head.
Yeah, abroad, I would say there's a dog in France, but in UK. It was called, I think, Powder Pure Passion. He
Okay.
won like crazy. It was so nice because the dog was bred in UK, but as a puppy, he was sold to France. And he would come back to England every year and beat everybody. I think in the specialty shows, I think twice or somewhere, he beat everybody and he was the top dog. So he was like amazing dog which I came across, Podal Pure Passion. In India, I don't know. I think the dog which I judged last year in Madhya, that was I don't remember the name and all that, but I thought he was a beautiful dog.
Okay. Nice.
He was reserved best in show. And again, in Bangalore FCI show, he was the specialty under Louis Pinto Texera. I think he went
Oh,
best
okay.
in show. He was
Nice.
a lovely dog.
Nice. Okay. Super. We're just right about at the edge of our time limit. Thank you so much, Preetham, for joining and giving
No
your
problem.
Monday evening to us to talk about your favorite breed, Golden. I mean, apart from Golden, I think Lab is also one of your favorite breeds, but we wanted you to talk about Golden. And thank you so much for giving us this 1 hour and educating novice people as well as talking about the breed for people, other people to understand the breed a little better. Thank you so much for saying yes to this live chat session that we're doing. Okay, guys. So we will see you next week with another guest talking about a different breed, or it can be a different topic altogether. So we will keep you posted on when and what topic is going to be and who is going to chat with us. So the need of the hour is basically for you guys to stay home, stay safe. Let's fight Corona with being safe and being at home. Thank you, Preetham.
Thank you, Siddharth, for inviting me. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Nice.
Thank you.